and I'll hand it over to Professor DeLauro.
Hi, well, welcome everyone. Students, we have a lot of you today, so I'm excited to have them talk to you. I am also going to try to take a step aside and let you talk directly to the students, but welcome to UMW. We're really happy to have you here as admitted students joining us this evening. I did want to let you know just before we got started that we're in the meeting module of Zoom, which means the session is going to be recorded. So if you don't want to be seen or heard, just go ahead and turn off your video and mute your microphone. If you do have questions, if you do that but still have questions, go ahead and enter them in the chat box. And we will be answering them, as we go along, but also there's always going to be time at the end of the meeting if you want to answer, have any more questions that you didn't get a chance to ask. So I'm just going to start by way of introduction, talk about myself a bit. I'm Professor of French. I'm here, as I mentioned, with a lot of students. There's 26 current students representing the 18 different humanities majors offered at UMW. I've been at Mary Wash since 2006. So in addition to teaching courses in French, right? French language, literature, culture. I also run a month-long study abroad program each summer in France. So it's a nice perk of the job. I've started the program in Paris that lasted my first maybe 7-8 years. And more recently, I've transferred to a program in the south of France in Aix-en-Provence, but then I still tack on a week in Paris just because I can't resist not going to Paris. But one of the reasons that I actually changed locations was because I had too many of my colleagues competing for programs in Paris. So just a little plug, I think one of the things coming from my department that I'm most excited about is that we offer so many faculty-led programs, right? So I'm a natural fit for a program in Paris. I'm one of our French professors, right? But I have a faculty member in historic preservation, in business, and then also in the sciences, all of whom were offering summer study abroad programs in Paris. So it's a good problem to have, right? That 4 different faculty members offering month-long programs in the summer, but it was too much competition for me. So I bowed out and went in the South. I had a little bit more flexibility, but nonetheless, it's one of the things I'm proudest about, I think, of Mary Wash, all the faculty-led programs that we have and the number of students who both study abroad and also foreign students who study here. So I teach French classes. I run a summer study abroad program. One of the things you might be curious is why the students chose UMW. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about why I chose UMW. And I think primarily it was just a question of fit, right? As you go, if you're looking at colleges, when you go to look for jobs or even internships, right? You want to find a place that gives you a good vibe, right? And I immediately felt comfortable. And I think primarily the reason for that was that it seemed to be a kind of unique combination of resources of a larger university. And in my university and grad school experience, I was at big universities that had 2,000 students a class, right? But then it also combined the one-on-one professorship, mentoring of students of a smaller college. And although I went to bigger universities for college and grad school, I went to a 12-year school for starting all the way 1 through 12 that was really small. We only graduated with 70 of us. I'm still in touch with all of them today. I could tell you their siblings' names. So I felt like Mary Wash had these great resources of the universities that I was currently studying at when I was in grad school, and yet still that high touch, right, personal touch from the professors and mentoring that I had gotten sort of when I was back in high school. So I obviously studied French in college. That's probably not a surprise. I also I had 3 majors. I majored in German and comparative literature as well. So my parents were German professors, which made that a somewhat predictable choice, I suppose. But Comp Lit was a complete surprise. So this has made me my little hint for freshman year. I took a Comp Lit 100 class, right? My very first semester. Course that's not the kind of class that you get in high school, right? It's a very distinctive college level course, and I fell in love immediately, right? So I had no idea what it was really going in, except that it was a literature class, and I loved literature, so that was a safe bet. But the first class we had a pathologist from the medical school who told us he did autopsies, right? And he taught us how to read the body as text, like what one of these CSI kind of things you watch on TV now, right? What can the body tell you? Then the second class was a professor from the architecture school. They taught us how to read gardens and describe the different layouts, English gardens versus French gardens, et cetera. And then yet another lecture, we had a French historian who undressed Marie Antoinette and showed us how her clothes revealed different aspects of her upbringing and social class. So it was always a guest lecturer from a different department all over the university. In a sense, then this course was one that was on humanities, right? How to critically read the world through lots of different and often competing lenses. And I was hooked immediately, right? So I decided at that moment, I'm triple majoring in the humanities. Given my parents' background, I didn't have to sort of reply to that the dreaded question of, what are you going to do with that, right? What are you going to do with a humanities major? But I did want to sort of start with addressing that question a bit tonight by means of an introduction, right? We have a lot of departments, as I mentioned. There are 5 departments, but 18 majors, right? So it's a lot to cover. I'm obviously not going to go into detail about all of them. But I did want to talk a little bit about this article the Washington Post published in 2017. And the article's title is, "What Can I Do with My Liberal Arts Degree?" Right? You all are interested in Mary Washington, which means that you understand the value of a liberal arts degree. And you've boldly declared an interest in the humanities, right, at a liberal arts institution. So I can see that you're independent thinkers, unafraid of that inevitable question about the usefulness, the quote unquote usefulness, right, of a humanities degree. But as this article suggests, there's no need to worry about that, what that might be, right? Employers, and this, remember I mentioned, was published in 2017. So employers are consistently reporting that the so-called soft skills of humanities majors are what sets job candidates apart, right? So I have a couple of those listed here. Let's see. Curiosity, I'm going to quote from the article while I let you read those, that list. So, quote, "Curiosity, creativity, and empathy aren't unruly traits that might be reined in to ensure success. Just the opposite. The human touch has never been more essential in the workplace than it is today. You don't have to mask your true identity to get paid for your strengths. You don't need to apologize for the supposedly impractical classes you took in college or the so-called soft skills you have acquired. The job market is quietly creating thousands of openings a week for people who can bring a humanist's grace to our rapidly evolving high-tech future," end quote. And the article further makes this point by saying, quote, "The more we automate the routine stuff, the more we create a constant low-level hum of digital connectivity, the more we get tangled up in the vastness and blind spots of big data, the more essential it is to bring human judgment into the junctions of our digital lives," end quote. So employers are widely proclaiming that they're actively seeking to hire graduates with skills like oral and written communication, curiosity, critical thinking, ethical judgment, and decision-making. And these are the areas where humanities majors will thrive, right? So I thought I'd show you a couple, just a list of a handful of careers pursued by Mary Washington graduates who majored in humanities. You can see that the list varies widely, right? There's a whole, all different fields. There's no one, I mean, you can't even necessarily connect them to particular majors, right? It's the skills behind them that are really what links them. And so I thought while you look over that list, I wanted to share another fact that I'm really proud of about Mary Washington, which is our job placement. So upon graduation, 89% of our grads have employment. And this is above average, right? National placement is 85%. And only 81% among public institutions, right? So this is, you can see, again, the variety of jobs as you look at that list. And so it's no surprise that the publication Colleges of Distinction has praised Mary Washington for its attention to career development. And I did just want to take a second to talk to you about that publication. So it's a unique, you've heard of like the Fisk Guide and the Princeton Guide. And we're on those lists too, but this one I think sort of for me is more significant, it means more. So what they do is they handpick a selection of top schools that are, and I'm going to quote from them, "well equipped to provide a personalized education catered to student interests." They are institutions that strive for excellence in line with 4 overarching distinctions: student engagement, teaching, community, and outcomes, end quote. So they explicitly pick schools that vary in cost, size, location, academic offerings, and more, but they're all united by their commitment to the undergraduate experience and exhibit sort of the foundational qualities of a fulfilling undergraduate education, right? And so UMW was on 3 of their 2021 lists, just general colleges of distinction, colleges of Virginia distinction, and public colleges of distinction. And they specifically praised the university for its innovative programming, its sense of community, commitment to service learning, outstanding faculty, and again, attention to career development, right? So I think that that list is just more meaningful because it's looking for very specific things. And I think they tend to be the things, again, student engagement, teaching, community engagement, things that we pride ourselves on as well. But let's get back to the humanities. Okay, so as I said, we have 5 humanities departments. I'm going to let you look at them. And 18 majors, right? So here are our departments. You can see a lot of them combine different fields within them. Our newest department is digital studies and communication. It used to be under the umbrella of English and linguistics, but now it's separated out and is really one of our new and growing programs. We have, let's see. Within each of them, what I want to do, some of them I think are self-evident, right? Philosophy, English, you know what these things are. For the ones that are a little less obvious or more uncommon, I'm going to describe them a bit. What I want to do is show you within each department what the possible majors are. So you can see here for classics, philosophy, and religion. Religion is its own major. Then there's 2 options for philosophy, sort of traditional philosophy, and then pre-law. And classics has 4 majors, the newest of which, ancient Mediterranean studies, was just added this year. So we don't have any majors, no one representing that because they wouldn't be possible. If classical civilization focuses exclusively on Greek and Roman literature, culture, etc., the difference with ancient Mediterranean studies is that it focuses on Greeks and Romans and other societies with which they had contact. So it's a much broader view, very similar sort of in content to the classical civilization major, except that it considers more societies at that time period. Let's see, here are some classes. So I just sort of went through and picked a handful of classes. It should be fairly evident what they belong to. So medical ethics, aesthetics, introductory logic, intro to law, those are all philosophy classes. The last 3 are all religion classes, and the first 3 are all classics classes. So these are ones that are offered fairly regularly, right? And I thought I'd just give a good impression of the variety. Give you a second to look through. And then for English and linguistics, right, is our next department. You have 2 different majors, just again, what would be considered the traditional English major, right, literature. And then a second English major in creative writing, and then the 3rd major in linguistics. So linguistics is actually one of our examples of what's called a special major. And that's another unique feature of Mary Wash that I wanted to point out. If we don't have a specific major you're looking for, it's pretty easy to create your own major. Majors in linguistics, probably not surprisingly, often couple with languages in my department and do kind of a dual major. But you can kind of create you work with the faculty from the relevant departments and you kind of craft your own major. And we have a good number of those every year. So that's sort of an exciting possibility to be able to have something that's unique. Not a traditional major that everyone else is going to have, but you can kind of make your own self-crafted major. And again, I want to show you some classes offered in these departments. So you'll see that cinema studies, right, that might be a surprising fit for English, but we have some culture classes, right, and film and culture classes, video games. And then starting down here, we have some linguistics classes as well. So writing systems of the world, language and gender, language and race. Writing systems of the world teaches you old writing systems, including lost ones. And then you learn how to write and have to kind of try to decipher texts found in ancient buildings and see if you can figure out, right, what those messages might say. That was one of my favorite classes in college, kind of like a puzzle you had to decipher. All right. Then our new department, as I mentioned, communications, digital studies and communication, right? So those That is one major. And then we also have journalism now housed in that department. That was, again, all of those had been previously under English, as I had mentioned. Some classes offered there. And then history and American studies. So two majors, history and American studies, not a big surprise. I'm assuming that American studies is the lesser known of the two. Is certainly, if you look at universities across the country, that's much less common than a history major, right? So American studies is much more interdisciplinary than history. 8 out of the 12 required courses have to be taken in different departments, so departments outside history and American studies. And they also must be under sort of organized around a unifying theme. So some of the options might be gender and sexuality, cultural expression, human rights, politics and society, space and place, race and ethnicity, something like that. So it's both diverse and yet focused at the same time. So it's more different, more fields, more other departments involved, but then all along the same trajectory, all along one unifying line of inquiry. So that's how it differs a bit from a traditional history major. And here we have some classes offered by that department. So you can see anything from sort of more traditional, just there's some, did I write Native American history, Asian civilization, and then digital history, conspiracy theories, right? So a wide range of just a class on just museums. And then modern languages and literatures. So these are the languages that we offer in the department. And then in terms of classes, obviously we offer language classes at all levels. So both those for the language requirement, but then also composition class, a conversation class, translation, how to do translation, things like that. And then as indicated by this list, things that are more thematic or culturally focused as well. Okay. So what I want to do, I said I want to give the floor to the students, right? I think they're our best advocates, and I think they can answer your questions certainly better than I can. I'm going to hang out. I'm going to break you guys out into breakout rooms. I have labeled them by department so that you can join a breakout room, whichever one you want. You can change between them, your choice. I'm going to hang out in the main room. So if you have any other, if you have admissions questions, for Nicholas, or if you want to ask me any kind of more general questions, we'll hang out in the main room. And otherwise, feel free to travel between rooms, ask the students all the questions you want. I had just one more thing to share with you before we do that, which is still courses, but this time courses that you could take in the fall, right? So these are freshmen, all by the Humanities department. You could take very classes right away. Other ones were classes for pretty regularly, but these are ones coming up in the fall. And again, taught by departments that we mentioned. It's just a couple other classes that you can see further descriptions of them on the website, but just to give you an idea. Okay, I will go ahead and stop sharing. And the students have, you can see in parentheses, they've put their majors, and then you can go ahead and join whatever breakout room you want. I've labeled them by department, and so you can go explore and talk to the students. So if you guys want to go ahead and join them too.
Excuse me, Professor. I think you gave me the power to create rooms.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you should be able to join it. Yes. Are you able to? You should be able to.
There are several students who you gave host permissions to, and those who have the host permissions, in the breakout room section, all we see is a screen to be able to make a room, not to join one.
Ah, okay.
I can go ahead and fix that.
Okay.
Just go ahead and
Thank you.
remove some of these permissions. All right. I think that might be everyone. Awesome.
Good. Because I can, since you guys labeled, I can assign you too. Let's
See,
see.
wait, I can't join. Yeah, you might have to just assign us to the room
Okay.
and then let the rest of the students, I guess, be able
Okay.
to choose. Yeah.
So let's see. Okay. So our guests, are you guys able to join the rooms? Let's see.
I saw some head shaking no.
Okay, it's set to, it's curious. No, okay, I see, thank you from the, okay. So it's set to do that. I wonder if let me try, curious. Let's try this. I don't know why that would work, but I'll give it a try. I can also, let's see. I wonder why that is. Let's see. Well, I guess if you indicate in the chat which rooms you'd like, we can move you. It seems to be set up properly. I'm not quite sure why it's not allowing anyone to join. Let's see. I can move some. Okay. Okay, we got some history. Let's see, Delaney. Okay. So digital studies. Okay, I can do that. So Sarah. Okay, let me see who else is in the chat. History. Okay. Let's see. Okay, history is Keith. All right. And Temperance Classics. Okay. Okay, and massage. Okay. All right. History. Okay. Down to history. All right. Okay. Okay, creative writing. Jared, I did that one already. Okay. All right, let me go to languages for a second. Okay. Okay, we have French beat. Okay. Blake is history. Who am I missing? So historic preservation is not a department we have represented here. They're under social sciences, but I did have, did I already lose them to a room? Yes, okay. Oh yes, Rebecca too, of course. There were two, yes, okay. All right, I'm gonna move, so my historic preservation person, I'm gonna move you into languages because Rebecca is French and historic preservation. So we will do that. And we have, let's see, okay. Okay, perfect. All right, who am I missing? Let's see. So I need some of my historians to move over, right? Got Brianna and history, good, okay. All right, I'm gonna go back to classics. And a couple who haven't, let's see, religious studies, philosophy, okay. And then back to English, digital studies, journalism. Okay. All right. Have anyone else that indicated where they're going, whom I haven't placed? Okay, I think, okay, are you guys, all right, so are you guys not able to join the rooms even though I placed you in them? What is going on?
You have to invite us to join them, I think.
I did. I'm trying to figure out, so I can see like you're all listed under rooms now, but why? Okay, let's try this again.
I'm so sorry for interrupting. Are the rooms published and or publicized? Because that might be the issue.
Think so. I don't know. Let's see. Let's try one more thing here. We'll do this. So it says I haven't. So I publicized. I don't know. So that's not something I've ever done before. They're usually just.
I meant like if they're like viewed for like public.
Yeah.
Because they could just be private.
Maybe because it's not my Zoom. It's not. I don't know. Is Nick?
Who's hosting?
So
Nick.
I'm hosting, although I gave co-host powers, so let's see.
I should be able to
have the equal amount of ability to do this. Because I have the option to create new breakout rooms, but I don't have control over the ones that you've created.
Okay, so but you can see them. See, why can no one else see them? That's odd. Well, should I delete mine then? Maybe. I hate to do that because I have everyone organized now.
Well, one way we could do this, and since there are a lot of people, it might be a little messier, but if anybody has specific questions about programs, we could answer them one at a time. Again, sorry that breakout rooms aren't really working too well, but I mean, if anybody does have any questions or wants more information about specific programs, departments, majors, then we could easily do a Q&A right here. Does that sound good with everybody?
That's good.
Awesome.
Anyone else say?
So it looks like we already have one question.
Yes.
If anybody wants to answer the question about the
I
classic
can take that.
civilization.
Go
ahead.
So if you wanted to become a college professor as opposed to an ordinary teacher, then you would major in the subject as opposed to majoring in education and then minoring in the subject. You could also minor in education. Shonda is asking if she wanted to become, or if they wanted to become a classic civilization professor, if they should major in teaching and minor in the subject or the other way around. And again, To become a professor, you would need more than the 4 years of university. You would need to go on to graduate school and then get your doctorate. So that would mean that you would not be teaching after your first 4 years. You would then be going on. So it would be most relevant to major in classic civilizations and then basically flop into a professorship. I don't know what happens after you get your PhD. I'm imagining that's how it goes.
Flop into
But you wouldn't need an education major, actually.
Yeah, I can kind of piggyback off of that too. So I would recommend, because freshmen come in not as a declared major anyway, I would plan on majoring in classical civilization, and you can always talk to the professors who lead it. I talked to Professor Pitts and she really helped me. They will lay out the classes you specifically have to take, and then you can always speak with the education people as well, and they'll help you. But exactly like they just said, I would suggest majoring in classical civilization and then maybe either double majoring in education or however that works, because we can't help too much with education. But I do know that a lot of classics majors do become professors in the future.
I could add on to that as well. So right now I'm a senior in the classics. I'm a double major in art history as well. But if you're looking at wanting to become a professor in classics, we have the 4 tracks. However, you definitely want to get started on your languages early. And if you're looking at becoming a professor in classics, you do need both Greek and Latin. So whichever one you want to start on, definitely get started on that your first year. And then moving on into grad school, but you should definitely start in undergrad. You need 2 modern foreign languages, so probably German and French. So you'll probably have to take 4 languages while you're in undergrad. It's a lot of work, but I've done it. I've done all 4. I'm currently in French and German, and it's very doable, but just get started early, please.
It is very doable. So actually, really quick, the Mediterranean studies that was just added, that one you do have to take both Latin and Greek, but for classical civilizations, you do not have to. You can pick one of them. So I'm in Greek and I don't have to take Latin.
All right, so I just went ahead and created 5 new rooms. If everybody would like to join them. It's open to all of you guys, so you should just be able to hop into them real quick. It should crop up onto your screen. It seems like it's working because I can see people leaving, so that's great. Yay, awesome.
Mine for some reason won't work. Will you just force add me to the modern languages one?
Yeah, let's see.
Who was saying that?
Nora Walsh.
Sorry, I heard a voice from
All
beyond.
good. It just floats.
Nora Walsh. Which one did you want to be added to?
Modern
Modern
languages.
Modern languages. Awesome.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's not adding me. Could you please add me to the history major room,
Sure
please?
thing, Brianna Ryan. That's weird.
Thank you.
All right. To history. Anybody else having problems?
Yeah, I just put in the chat, if you all don't mind adding me to English, please. Thank you.
To English.
Awesome.
Derek, are you going German or classical?
Oh, I'm trying to decide.
Why don't you go? I think we didn't have any German interest, so I will send you to classical. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
I think there was more interest in that for tonight. Let's see. Okay.
All right. So it looks like we have 2 people hanging back because I think Keith and Debbie, unless they're also here, but I know they're also in 2 other different accounts.
Okay.
But for those of you who are hanging back, do you have any specific questions for either French professor or for admissions. And I know that, if you don't want to be recorded or anything, you could put it in the chat. We'll answer that way. Up to you guys. But yeah, we'd love to answer any questions that you might have. Oh, wait, look, it looks like Jarrett actually wanted to be put into English. Sorry about that, Jarrett. Let me go ahead and do that.
I got it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Then, if nobody has any questions, would you like to just speak about a little bit of French, so I can have some more information, but so can anybody else who is, still in here?
Yeah, sure. We have, let's see, so just in terms of the major, you mean, or just?
Yeah, sure. In terms of the major.
So we have, I think one of the things I was most impressed with when I came was that we had someone to represent every field, I am technically a Renaissance specialist, but I am our medievalist as well. So the early people always get pushed together. But we have a 17th century specialist, an 18th century specialist, a 19th century specialist, and a 20th century specialist, and then me, because I get to cover the remaining 700 years. But I do enjoy it. It's a lot. But it's really rare to have, sometimes even a designated French faculty, but certainly so many across such a wide spectrum, since our training is in literature, right? So that's a really unusual setup. Sometimes you have maybe one French faculty, and then like a cultural faculty and a literature faculty, but it's rare to have so many of us. And then, did we lose her? No. And then one of the things, not French specific, but I was thinking of mentioning it when I said something about the unique resources that we have that are more common to a bigger school. So within my department, one of the things that I think is the coolest is every year we invite PhD candidates from native speakers. So from France, from Germany, from Japan. Usually our Arabic speaker has come from different places, from China, from Spain. And so every year there's a student who sort of is our language club organizer, right? So they offer some tutoring hours. They have movie nights, and in non-COVID times, cooking nights, but not now. And they have game night, and they talk about politics and just conversation hours with the students. But I came from huge institutions, and that's not something that was available when I was an undergrad. And I think that's a really unique opportunity. And there are some native speakers. They're a little bit older than our students because they're PhD candidates, but more or less the same age. They all live together in the same housing, which is for international students as well. And usually I require the students to go see them at least 3 times a semester, because I think it's such a unique opportunity. But that's something that a program that we've had since I arrived, and it's I think it's one of the strongest assets of our department.
That's something that I really liked about. I didn't do any French. I was a Spanish guy myself. Loved Spanish. But I think it was South Hall.
Yes.
I would go to events down there, cooking nights and everything. Obviously pre-COVID. That was really, really fun. I got to because each time it was a different cultural meal or something from another different area. So that was always really fun. I really, really loved getting, engaged in that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's just, one of the coolest things I agree that we do have in our, foreign or modern language department is the ability to, be immersed, even if you don't go abroad, just be immersed with a bunch of native speakers and get engaged in a lot of their culture and everything. Because, in my personal opinion, one of the best ways to experience culture is to eat their food. And cook with them. So that's something that I really, really enjoyed about the program too.
We also have so many international students who just, who are 4-year students at Mary Washington. I have Elise, whom I didn't know until this semester, contacted our department and said, hey, I'm a French student. I really want to do something let me share my French with the students. So now I have my students, they also get to go chat with her a couple times a semester. She just really wants to keep her hand in the, in the French, and share. I think she's done some Zooms with her friends and have them practice speaking. And, there's just a lot of, for a relatively small place, again, my first impression coming from a much larger place, it still is so rich with these really unique opportunities that are not common for a place that's the size of Mary Washington.
And I know we also had 2 or 3 years ago, we had like a man from like Italy just come and spend like a year at Mary Washington, and he like tutored people in Italian, but he was also like pursuing his own like schooling here. It was like a year abroad for him. And it's cool that we also have like you said, opportunities like that for them to just come and maybe like give some extra help in a foreign language while also pursuing their education. It's just a really, really cool experience that we have.
Yeah.
But let's see.
Any questions that I can see?
Doesn't look like it. But I don't know if you can hear us, Muriel. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But yeah, if you do have any like admissions questions or anything, happy to help. You can also, I'll actually go ahead and put my email in the chat, just so also everybody, if they come back, can see it as well. But I am your man for all questions. Oh, you sent that to me.
Oh, to you. I just realized that.
I almost made the same mistake. But yeah, I am your best point of contact for any admissions questions. It's my expertise. Of course, our professor here is going to be the best point of contact for French. And then also all the students are really, really good, great people, great opportunity to have them here to give their experience, because it's definitely a lot more valuable to have or to hear from them about their experience, because it's going to be a lot more similar to you than, people who have graduated like me or like our professor here.
Yes. I don't know how it came up in class the other day, but I pointed out that my freshman year of college marked the advent of email. There was no email before fall of 95. So that was a shocker to the classroom. It was in our technology vocabulary lesson today.
It was only, I want to say like 5 years ago for me. So still pretty recent. I cannot imagine college shopping, college searching without email. I still remember to this day just being inundated with emails. But yeah, it was all for the best. It really
had
did
to register by the phone and call, and like every class had a 10-digit number, and you would like punch it in on the old phones.
They just still have like those brutal time slots where you just had to get a class at a specific time.
And then God forbid the line was busy, because
Yeah. Oh God, that is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, we had it hard. But let's see. I don't want to keep everybody too long, so we can give people until or I guess they can leave as they'd like. But until like 7:50, 7:55-ish, we can so they can still talk to everybody. Hello, Miss Jarrett. Do you have any specific questions for me or for our professor? Or are you just hopping back in?
I think I've just hopped back into the main room. I was just in digital communications talking with Aaron. So
awesome.
My son is at an orchestra rehearsal right now, so he couldn't be here for this, but I thought I would try to gather some info for him.
Absolutely. I was just talking to you today, wasn't I?
Yes, we emailed today. So yes, so now
it's
we can
nice
put a name and face together in both directions.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely nice to put a name or a face to the name, because I've been talking to your son for a while too.
Yes.
And I'm always glad to be of help. And it's really nice.
Well, we appreciate it very much. So thank you.
Do you have? Are you interested in visiting any of the other rooms, or did you, we can hop you in a different room if you were interested as well?
Yeah, I saw him a minute ago. Let's see.
We can go ahead and add you.
I got it.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, we'll hop into history and see what's going on in there.
Okay.
I went ahead and asked Aaron a few other questions since I was the only one in there.
We've got 26 students helping, so it's bound to happen.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yes, I didn't want to turn anyone away. I got so many volunteers. I didn't want to turn anyone away. I figured if they want to come and share, I'll let them.
I get that, absolutely.
History was my second choice for major. Almost went with a history major. Should have double majored in hindsight, but international affairs is what I went with. Which is, I thought it was in humanities, like poli-sci and everything. Like I thought that was under the humanities, like under the big wing of it, but I guess not.
Yeah.
Because it is like a humanity. Like I feel like it's not tangible.
Yeah, that history is even more susceptible to flip-flopping, right?
Yeah.
In terms of how it's presented, and but I mean, I was a French major, but I mean, almost all of the other French majors besides me, and there were probably, I don't know, let's say 25 of us or so, because again, there were 2,000 a class, much bigger, but they were almost all IA majors also, or poli-sci majors. I was one of the few, and they all knew each other from those classes too, but I was over with my little German cohort, so I missed out on all that.
Yeah, I knew a lot of the Spanish majors because like I had to take a lot of Spanish classes and I loved it. So like I was in all the IA classes with the IA people, and then it was in all the Spanish classes with the Spanish people, and there's a lot of overlap. So that was really fun. And I had Fajardo Cardenas for 2 years. Love him.
He's
nice. Such a sweet man.
So you're a recent grad, okay? Because it all runs. I've been here forever now, but I'm like he hasn't been here too long, and I don't know. COVID has run everything together in my head. But.
Yeah, I mean, I graduated last year, so it's a very
okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
so definitely recent. Yeah.
But I had him for 2 years. I still see him like off campus all the time, and he just like runs up to me and quizzes me on Spanish, which is always fun. But I also had Delgado Paust for a semester, and she was really awesome too. I credit all of my Spanish to those two professors.
Nice. Yes, they are 2 and 3 doors down from me on my end of the hall.
That was a lot of fun. Could have picked up a minor too. But where did you go to college?
I did my undergrad at University of Pennsylvania and my grad work at Yale.
Nice. Wow.
So I grew up in Baltimore. I moved north, and then back south. I knew when I interviewed here, I was back in giant territory. So, it was familiar to me. I had to come back to the good old grocery store chain I recognized finally. I was big, really big. Yale's slightly smaller than, so Penn is 2,000 a class. Yale's more like 1,600 a class, but, really substantially, quite large places. So definitely a different feel, but I was used to small. So from back in like, there were like 70 of us for 12 years, K through 12. So I love that small environment. I initially thought I'd go back there and teach. That was my initial career plan, in 4th grade. But then I couldn't resist going back to school and learning more. So
yeah, I'm kind of like on the opposite foot. Like I'm from Orange County, Virginia. So we're from or we have like one school in the entire county. And it's not terribly like a big county, but we had like my graduating class was I want to say 475. So it was like on the bigger side. So I came to Mary Washington, and it was still bigger than my high school, but it was great because it wasn't too big. So I got to always meet new people and everything. But it also wasn't too small because I toured a lot of smaller schools too. And they definitely have their merits and everything, but I wanted something that felt different than high school, something a little bit bigger.
Exactly. Me too. And then I was an all-girls school, so I was happy to also ditch that for college.
Oh yeah. I still get I get a lot of questions at fairs, usually from like people's parents, asking if like we're still an all-girls school, and like because we used to be until like the 70s, like 75. So,
but it's been
50 years.
It's been a while, right?
Yeah, but I still get it all the time. That's a huge question.
That surprises me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think. It was 2 years ago, and it was this prospective student's first semester would have been during COVID, so it had to be 2 years ago at one of the events over
open house.
It wasn't the one that's in the ball. I confuse the names, but the ballroom event, right? So this guy comes up to me and says, "Hi, Brooke," and I was like, a parent, right? And I was like, I have no idea who you, And then he's like, "You don't recognize me?" And I was like, "Sorry." So it is a high school classmate we had classes with an all boys school, so you're not confused, since I just said I went to all girls school, whose child was applying to Mary Washington and is currently here as a historic preservation major.
Awesome.
And I was like, sorry, like if I'd seen you in Baltimore, maybe, but like I know, how can we have this where you have a child who is applying to the place I work at? Like, how does that work? But it was definitely the most fun admissions event I've done. I have never been more surprised. And my friend writes me and she's like, so I heard you saw Seth. I was like, you knew he was coming? You didn't want to give me a heads up so I didn't make a fool of myself and not recognize him? 20 years later, but still. So yeah, I was teasing her because she could have told me that I might have expected him.
Yeah, one of your like student helpers actually like messaged me earlier before we were in the breakout rooms, and he was like, are you from like Orange County by any chance? And I was like, yes. Apparently he is a graduate from there from 2019. So we went to the same school. I don't recognize him, but he recognizes me. So that was great because not a lot of people come from Orange County. The big destinations are like Tech and JMU.
Okay.
But always nice to see people from Orange County. That was really cool. Yeah. Wow. Small world.
I know. It's so crazy.
Yeah. And it's just super weird to me that like my territory isn't Orange County. I deal with like South Virginia and everything. But like all the people coming from that school, like I have no overlap with them. Like they're all like a fresh new batch. I never went to school with them or anything. Like it's wild to me.
Already. Yeah. It's crazy how quick the turnover is.
Yep.
Yeah.
College went by fast.
Yeah. For me, the breaking point was when I started seeing like when the birth years of the students in my class were like past 2000, and I was like, oh, because when I came in, so I came fresh from grad. I was still actually hadn't finished my dissertation. I finished writing it my first semester teaching, and so I was like, and I went straight from grad school from undergrad to grad. So I was as young as you could be effectively, right? So I had 22 plus another 6 years. So I was 28, and the undergrads, the oldest of them at least, were 22. So we were like, I could still like talk on a level like that we'd understand early on, and now it's like it grows like exponentially over the years, the distance. My old like movie references are way long dead. I can't use any of them anymore.
Yeah, like I tried to be like, oh yeah, I graduated last year, so like I know what you guys are going through. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah,
that was like when I was applying for colleges, they were 13 or 12 actually, because I was 17 going in. Like it's wild to me.
Yeah,
like
it's
time's going by.
And COVID, I think, has made it go by much faster than normal even. Like it's all one big blur.
Absolutely. Yeah, my last 3 semesters, COVID. I got to walk though, which was great, but that was kind of unfortunate. Although like I come across so many students who were like, they were just sophomores in high school and now they're seniors. So because they had those 2 years entirely virtual, so they kind of like missed the entire process of getting ready for college. So I'm seeing a lot of people who just aren't, or just feel like they aren't ready, which is, you can't blame them because they just were virtual for the past 2 years and are all of a sudden seniors in high school and have to make these big decisions. It's going well so far. They're doing a very good job. So it looks like it's 7:55. I can still see a bunch of people are in these breakout rooms.
A bunch in the classics, and that's let's see.
Although a lot of these are also the helpers.
So we've got 2 in history and American, 2 guests in history and American studies, 2 guests in English and linguistics, 4, 5, 6 in classics, philosophy, and religion, and it looks like just 1 in modern languages.
Okay,
which is
so
kind of
let's see. I can broadcast a message. Do you have any like closing remarks for anybody or anything, or are they just going to kind of go off?
Yeah, I mean, I just figured I'd sort of let them, because I thought maybe with so many they might be on different schedules, and I didn't want people kind of twiddling their own thumbs unless you have a better plan.
No, I mean, absolutely allowed to trickle out. I don't want to hold people too late on an 8 p.m. on a weekday. Like, I'm sure people have work in the morning and school in the morning, so I don't want to hold them too late. So I can actually go ahead and broadcast a message to everybody.
Yeah.
Saying that let's see, the breakout rooms could close in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wonder why it is that I could, what was wrong with it? I can't tell, but I am host. I wonder why it wouldn't work, the breakout rooms. It's odd.
Yeah, so I thought I knew what the problem was originally because I gave a bunch of your students co-host ability too. It's what I did with the last session, just so they can have some semblance of control as well. That shouldn't have barred them from joining breakout rooms though.
Yeah.
So I took them off, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
strange. There's always something new. I never know.
Yeah,
that was my first time naming breakout rooms, so that worked out okay.
Me too.
And letting them go to their own, that part didn't work out as well. But I don't think that wasn't that aspect of it that was actually the problem. I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah, I don't know. My first time doing breakout rooms too. I've done a lot of these things like virtually, but glad we got through it together. We did a good job. Got everybody where they needed to be. Yeah, teamwork. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they still got to go and talk to everybody individually and get that information.
Yeah.
Because that's great. And the last, so I did like fine arts before this, like music, art, theater, and everything. They had 4 people helping them.
Okay.
Which is like a good number because there were like 14 people who showed. So when you said like 26, I was like, ooh.
I had for a couple, I had people, more than one volunteer for each major, but there are 18 majors, right? So just to cover all the bases, I wanted to be sure. And I figured, yeah, we'll just let them, you know, it's good to hear from them, I think.
Yeah, it's good to get engaged too. You know, I like that they're, you know, interested in helping recruit students and talking to applicants and everything. Like, that's fun. And yeah, there are a bunch of majors in it, so that makes sense. Yeah. Although I honestly just learned about American Studies pretty recently.
Yeah.
Because it's like super. Oh, and I'm really, really glad that you brought up special majors. Because like that's something that I bring up to everybody that I come across because it's genuinely a super, super cool thing that we have. I don't know many other schools that do it. So that, yeah, that's really cool that you brought that up. And I didn't know linguistics started as one either, because I know communications did like many years ago. But I didn't know linguistics did as well.
Yeah. So technically it's a special major. I think it has something to do with numbers per year or something like that, the SACS thing or whatever. Yeah, so and in our department, because some of our newer languages, you have to make it a special major because it's not yet a big enough critical mass, right? Japanese is brandy new, so.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Hello. If anybody, again, just want to put it out there. I did put my email in the chat, but I'll go ahead and put it in there again, just in case you guys can't find it.
Find in there as well.
Just in case you guys do have, and I know I've already spoken to several of you before, but if you have any admissions questions or any other questions about Mayor Washington, I would love to help you. And yeah, I'll hand it back over before we wrap it up for the night.
Yes, thank you all for coming. So thanks for dealing with our technical issues. It's really great to have you. And if you have any, I don't know if anyone has any last questions or comments from the students, but. Okay, well, great. Thank you so much for coming, and students for volunteering. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.